So, Dolly and I were just having a conversation about Gemini and Sagittarius. Or rather, she was doing what she normally does, which is telling me about her life. And then I was having a conversation about Gemini and Sagittarius, which happened to be really prevalent in her birth chart and in my birth chart. So I feel like that's like one of the common threads through our relationship is being able to kind of study and understand the function and the place of these two signs. So, this little analogy that she came up with really helped me to understand what is going on in Gemini energy and what's going on in Sagittarius energy. And like all the sister signs, how do they feed back and forth between each other? So, the first part was what she had originally said, which she worked yesterday, and then she's going back to work today. And her analogy was that she was in the soup, the people soup yesterday. And at one point she kind of got a little wobbly in there and realized okay, that's enough. I'm out of the people soup. No more soup for me. And she told herself at the bottom of her journaling this morning, don't go in the soup today. Okay. Love you. So cute. And yeah, so that really got me thinking this people soup. And then she described what does she mean by that? And basically it was doing the Gemini thing where you're listening to other people. You're listening to their stories, you're listening to their opinions. Gemini is very much where we expand ourselves because Gemini is hungry for new ideas, new information, new perspectives, new people. New. That's what Gemini is constantly wanting to consume. Scratch that, not constantly, because that was what we eventually came to, was you can't just stay stuck in the mode of any of the 12 zodiac signs. Otherwise, you will find yourself out of balance. And that's where she said she felt like she was sloshing in the soup. And so get out of the soup. Don't go in the soup today. And that really got me thinking about Gemini energy. When you point your attention, which is Gemini, at something, you're mentally focusing on a YouTube video, or you're talking to a coworker, or you're driving and you're looking around at the signs on the side of the road, wherever you are pointing your attention, what you comprehend out of what you've paid attention to is what you are bringing from that other person's energy, or that other, the video's energy or whatever. When you comprehend something from paying attention to it, you're bringing it inside of yourself. And so yesterday she had lots of conversations with other people where, she's taking in their point of view or whatever. And that it helped me to see that I think just like any appetite, it is possible to overindulge in a certain energy without processing it, or without moving it using its sister sign. So in this case, Sagittarius, and how that would work is when you pay attention to something and you comprehend it, meaning you bring that energy into yourself, it's now yours. It is it's the sloshy thing. It's the soup. It's the pieces in the soup. They're not technically connected except for by the liquid of energy. And so the process of Sagittarius is where you take that separate piece, that newly comprehended, that newly ingested piece, and through the Sagittarius process, you take that piece and you integrate what's yours into your version of your truth, and you expel anything that you've absorbed that is not part of your truth. So as you can imagine, and this is what she did in her journaling this morning, one one of the conversations, the one she was telling me about, she's it was really fascinating because there was this self-reflection piece that came at the end where I feel like I've healed a lot of what I was witnessing in the other person. So it was really cool to get to see the other person and almost kind of look back at myself through time and see what I've healed since then. And that, yeah, absolutely. Like there's always a benefit. Again, scratch that. Not always a benefit to Gemini. It's like law of diminishing returns. Like when you're starving for new information, yeah, like you have a big Gemini appetite. Like you could just learn and talk to people and like go, go, go. And eventually you hit that sloshy in the soup phase where you're just kind of overloaded with all of these random chunks of energy that are floating around inside of you, disconnected from who you really are. And the only thing that is going to solve that sloshy feeling is one, like she said, don't get in the soup today, okay? Love you. Like, stop ingesting more and process what's in there. So when I feel sloshy like that, like when I feel kind of like wobbly or floating in my own energy, like what the hell, I don't feel stable, I don't feel grounded, I don't feel like firm in my own position. I feel like just on shifting sands and there's not a stable foundation under my feet. So when that's how I get, it's very anxiety provoking for one to be in that state because again, your feet are not on the ground. And so there's a lack of security in that floaty feeling. I feel like this is my own experience. And so I'll do a brain dump in my journal where it does not have to be pretty. It does not have to make sense. It does not have to be full paragraphs of understanding the reasoning and explanation and all of that. It's just what is inside of me right now. And this is an example. Like, let's say there was a conversation yesterday with a coworker and she was talking about XYZ, and that was really interesting because I got to see this older version of myself. Speaking of the older version of myself, I also had a dream last night that, I was with my ex and that they were breaking up with me and I was really devastated. Devastated also reminds me of my mom, which that's been happening a lot lately. So like it could be like that, like stream of consciousness, like as quickly as possible, empty out like all of the things that are inside of you and then look at it and see like what stands out here. Is it any one piece? Because that may be a thing to like take your mom and like do a whole journal page or 2 or 3 about that one piece where you are trying to get into it, you are trying to unravel it and see it for what it is. Again, for that purpose, that Sagittarian purpose of understanding what is yours and how does that new information that you did not have before, now that you understand this new thing, how does your truth evolve? And then evolve it. Write it down. What is true for me based on, whatever this is. And let go of the rest. This was how my mom was, and that lets me know that, I learned from her what I don't want, and these are the things that are true for me that I aim for me because of that. And I am not her. I'm not these things that she was. I'm me. I'm this other person. And like to really clarify that for yourself. And to me, that is processing that Gemini information kind of piece by piece, if that's what feels good. The other thing that can happen when you do that brain dump is that you see a pattern. You see some kind of thread through every single thing that is concerning you. You see how like maybe you're looking for love in all the wrong places and you're just mad at everybody because nobody loves you. Or for me, a common one that I would find is that, my work doesn't understand me, my partner doesn't understand me, my family doesn't understand me, my friends and I like don't really click, like it's just so surface level, like nobody understands me. And then it's like not so much any one piece that needs to be unraveled because they're all just symptoms of the same deeper root, which is whose job is it to understand you? Whose job is it to love you? And, how does that compare with your version of the truth, like your Sagittarius energy, your definition of what's true for you and the world? So there's this balance. It's exactly like your stomach and your digestion system. So like Gemini is filling up your stomach, and then Sagittarius is digesting what you put in there. And as you digest what you put in there, you are absorbing the nutrients of what you ingested, and you're expelling and filtering out all of the waste the not you part, the literal excrement that you are going to release and leave behind. So Sagittarius is the digestion system, and it empties the stomach. When you are stable and 100% sure-footed in what you believe and what you know to be true, you're hungry. You're hungry for Gemini. If your Sagittarius energy is healthy, if it's not, you fall into dogmatism, which is the shadow side of Sagittarius, where you just continue to repeat over and over and over again what you already know to be true. But if your Sagittarius is in a higher frequency, once you've finished processing, that triggers hunger pains where Gemini, please find us something to ingest, find us a new idea, find us a new friend, find us a new question to ask, find us hungry. And so you go out in the world and you be with other people and you watch videos and you watch documentaries and you study in books and you gather all of this new information and you feed yourself on that deep level, that curiosity that burns in your stomach. And then you're full. And maybe you're even sloshy. Maybe you're even having a food coma over how full you are. It's like uncomfortable how much your Gemini soaked up. And the only thing that's left is to retire to your quarters and sleep. Obviously, sleep is great for integrating information and kind of doing the thing where only the most important stuff gets to stay and the rest of it is gone. And that's why people say like, oh no, I've slept since then. Because when we sleep, it's like flushing the toilet. Like you get rid of everything that really you don't need. So the stuff that hangs around day after day after day after day, that stuff is definitely worth paying attention to and processing through this Sagittarius digestive process where you bring it out into the light, where you can look at it and ask yourself, what is true about this for me, right? Sagittarius knows nothing about universal truth. Sagittarius can only ever define personal truth.